Today we're going to be talking about Vanguardism. Just like last week, we're going to finish the speech that we started last week on the concept of Vanguardism by Jonathan Bowden. Anything you want to add before we dive right in, CJ?
There's been a lot of arrests of illegals this week and judges, and we have to play the intro video, huh?
Yeah, what do you come on, man? Yeah, Gary's gone.
Why'd you ask me a question?
Welcome to Contramundo.
Why'd you ask me a question?
The American Revolution, in other words, is never finished. It must always be renewed.
Greater love than this hath no man, than that he lay down his life for his friend.
What if it's not envy?
We must take back our cities, and take back our culture, and take back our country. God bless you, and God bless America.
Oh man. Gary's gone.
Yeah, no, he keeps pressing buttons behind the scenes though. This is great. Well, yeah, welcome to Contramundum. I'm Andrew Isker, and this is
CJ Engel.
CJ Engel, the host of the show.
We're back. I don't have Wi-Fi today, so I can't read anything.
I'm gonna read it myself, and maybe I'll break into the voice. We'll see.
You should.
Maybe. But before we dig into the Vanguardism essay, we'll talk about what you want to talk about. Like, I don't know, it's starting to happen. Like, Donald Trump arrested judges. This is fascism.
Yeah, I was going to say.
This is just like Nazi Germany.
They're taking judges and they're arresting them. And on that day, Gary is suspiciously gone.
Yeah, where is Gary? He's arresting judges, obviously.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's incredible. No, I mean, obviously, for one, like, they committed actual crimes, right? This judge in Wisconsin, they're
harboring illegals who have been
like she told illegals, right? ICE is coming, you better get out of here.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a felony.
That is a felony. You don't do like if you know someone's a fugitive and you assist them, that's against the law.
Nobody's above the law.
And you would think a judge knows what the law says.
Yeah, but judges are just activists. That's all they are.
Of course they are. Like, that's the thing. Like, what's going on here?
I think Gary's playing around.
He's messing with us from afar. He's messing with us, man.
I changed the password.
Log him out. Like judges. It's cool that he's arresting a couple judges, right? That's neat. But it would be like he needs to start arresting judges for obstructing justice with their, like, she's doing this off the clock, basically, not as part of her office, right? The judges like Boasberg and his ilk and all the ones with Star Wars names, right? They need to go to jail too.
Yeah.
Right. U.S. senators need to go to jail. Like, all these people obstructing the duly elected president of the United States from exercising his power, right, which is legitimate under the United States Constitution to defend the United States of America from foreign enemies and domestic enemies. Right. Well, they're domestic enemies, right? That's what this is. Like, this is wartime.
I think they want to put Trump in this position where he has to make this decision. Back down or arrest us, right? They want us. They want to take victory laps. We told you he was Hitler.
They're calling. Well, they're forcing him in a position where he's calling the bluff.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly, and that's what he has to do. So they're starting with the easy, low hanging fruit, right?
Yeah.
But like, is it going to go all the way to, like, how far are they going to take this? Because there are actual activist judges that are aiding and abetting all types of criminal behavior and actually participating in, like, not letting the Trump administration do what Article 2 allows them to do, which is to run the executive branch. Yeah. And it's not only on illegal immigrants, it's also on just basic decisions related to military compliance.
Yeah. Like, if the president of the United States says, hey, like, having a bunch of infantrymen that chop off their genitals might actually not be that good for military preparedness, so we're going to not allow it, right? They say, no, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. It's the law. All right. It's like, all right, what are we doing here? I mean, they're probably going to have an injunction about him forcing them to, every single person, not just like the grunts, having to hold the basic fitness standards, right?
Yeah.
Like 67% of the U.S. military is.
I hope they do. The more absurd the injunctions.
Like, did you see the one?
The better it is for us.
Did you see the one at I think it was Fort McCoy, Wisconsin? The woman who was in command there that refused to put their portraits up or whatever.
Yeah.
dude, that gal was like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Like she was mad. I mean, or just like literally General Millie.
Yeah, she's a
you know?
freedom fighter.
Yeah. Liberating lots of fries. But yeah, man, like, but they'll do injunctions to stop that. Right. Which is so obviously right. No, you need to have standards for your military. I mean, they'll do Title IX ones because if they hold women in combat roles to the same standard as men, there will be no women in combat roles. And they'll complain about that. They'll say it's discriminatory. And Trump will say, well, I just got rid of disparate impact. So too bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they'll do injunctions over that. You know, like he's flooding the zone right now on all of these things, and they are as well.
They are as well.
But it's going to come to a head, and it's like, and we'll find out, right? The bullet whizzing past his head, right? Did that make him into the great man of history or not? Right. We're going to find that out.
So let's game plan this a little bit.
Yeah.
What do they want to do? Impeach him? We talked about this.
Yeah, I think they want to impeach him. And if he makes his issue immigration and removing criminal aliens, specifically criminal aliens from the country, and he's being obstructed by the judiciary in enforcing immigration law, and that's his issue, and he fights on this. Right, it's an 80-20 issue. 80% of the country is on his side, and he knows it, and they know it.
Yeah.
So it could be a thing where he's calling their bluff, saying, "Then impeach me." Right, and some of it, like the timing matters.
Yeah.
Because, if this whole saga is playing out during the 2026 midterm elections, right? Whatever else is going on, whether it's tariffs, whether it's foreign policy stuff, right? The only thing that's going to matter in that election is, every congressman goes back to his district, and the single issue is, are you going to impeach Donald Trump or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And that's the advantage, because every single race now, and because this is like Republicans can't win unless Trump's on the ballot. Well, if the single issue is, are you going to impeach Trump or not over disobeying the court, Trump is now on the ballot. Right. It's like a parliamentary election, right? Like in a parliamentary system, the guy that you're voting for in your district really doesn't matter. You're voting for the prime minister, right? So if you're in Canada, you're voting for Justin, or who's the one that's going to win? Like there's the Pierre Pouvois, the loser eating an apple. No, he's awful. Right?
Why is he awful?
Because he's the worst.
He just disagreed with Trump on tariffs, right?
No, it's not. It's not even that. No. It's that
he's the best they got.
He's the best they got. Yeah. And he's worthless.
Yeah.
Right. He's like Paul Ryan or something. Like, give me a break. And they're gonna hand the country over to an even worse commie than Justin Trudeau. So
he's
anyway,
not worse than Justin Trudeau.
The new
Pierre?
guy? No, not him. No, he's got like 20%, or the Conservative Party's like, he's gonna get schlonged, as Donald Trump says. But no, man, like that is what the 2026 primaries will be an up and down vote on Donald Trump, whether you remove him from office or
right. So if they're trying to provoke an impeachment trial right before the midterms,
like he'd win that, I think
he would win that.
Yeah. I mean, unless the economy is a total disaster, and then people will say, "Yeah, get rid of him because everything's awful," right? So if he's succeeding everywhere else, and there were few, and he still is remaining incredibly popular, right? They will lose. And so the question is, like, are they so full of like hubris, thinking they can't lose? Right. That tells the story more than anything else.
Yeah.
Right. Or is Trump going to back down? Right. If he backs down,
now's the time to do it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a good issue to do it on. The bigger question is at the Supreme Court level, right? Because eventually this is going to become within the context of their actual decision making. That's where it's going to actually have to go next. right? These ones about her doing stuff outside of her, judgeship, that's easy.
Yeah.
But arresting John Roberts, what are you going to do?
Yeah, who's going to stop you at that point?
That's right.
Sending John Roberts to CCOT, right?
That's why the Pete Hegseth stuff matters.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like
explain that.
Well, yeah, like if
you need
if we really are in a real constitutional crisis, right? And maybe we are, then where the loyalty of the military is matters more than anything else.
Yeah.
And you could have, I mean, guys will tell you different things, but like the combat troops, like the guys actually pulling the trigger are like 80-20 Trump guys, right? But the leadership, the officer corps, especially at the top, has been groomed for decades to be, part of the left-wing permanent government, right? So Hegseth's job has been to root these people out, right? So all the people that push DEI and all those things, like, boom, they're gone. That one's easy. The ones that are deeper cover, that's harder, right? Because you don't know till the rubber meets the road, right? You don't know until Trump orders the 101st Airborne to surround John Roberts' house and drag him out at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Right. Are they going to obey that order or not?
Yeah.
And it could come to that. Like, people probably like watching this probably think like, these guys are nuts, right? But like,
no, it
could come to that, man.
Yeah, there's a certain logic. Like, these things can be at a still point for years, and all of a sudden something triggers it all, and it's all right there. It's all waiting to happen at any time.
Like people in the country are angry about this stuff, right? I mean, you just go to like anywhere in the country, but especially the cities. They're like, you could just feel it. Like, I'll see this on my timeline. It'll be like random, like normie people talking about, there's just so many people everywhere. We were in Missouri this week at get rid of that.
What do you say?
Get rid of that. Well, we were in Missouri. I'm not going to read it for the audio listeners. Right. I'm not going to dignify it with it.
How do you change the language settings on this?
Language settings? What do you have it in?
Like
Spanish or something?
I restarted it and it's like Arabic.
What happened to your computer?
I don't know, man. I wanted to pull it up.
Dude, that's not Arabic. That's Hindi.
Oh man, really?
The Indians got your
maybe they did.
Computer. You're gonna have to redeem some Google gift cards to get it back. But no, man. Like we saw. We were at the and I glanced at the USA Today at the hotel that I was at, and it said, what did it say? Or no, it wasn't US. It was, they had like Good Morning America or something, or the Today Show on, and it's like, the people were complaining about crowds, right? Like, how everyone has to stand in line for everything everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my goodness, what could have caused that?
It was like some like sudden outbreak of like long lines.
A sudden outbreak of long lines everywhere. Yeah. And it's like, wow, where did that come from? Like, I wonder if adding 50 million people to the country over the last 20 years and 20 or 30 over the last 4, what if that would have any effect on things? Right? Like, people get this. They know it.
Yeah.
Right? They know that things are bad. I mean, anyone who's like looking to buy a home right now, they totally know it, right? You can't find home, and it isn't just like people are like, well, it's just, BlackRock is just buying all the, like, that is happening for sure, but it's like, no, you import millions of people into the country, they got to stay somewhere, and if your tax money is paying for them to live here, or that bids up all the bottom end of the housing market, and nothing is available, right? If you wanted to try to find, like, in any city in the country, some cheap fixer-upper, right, those don't exist for you to buy. Those get snatched up and turned to Section 8.
Yeah.
Right? The cheapest thing you're going to get is $500K if you're lucky. So, like, it's bad, and people feel how bad it is, and they know exactly what's causing it, right? You think about, like, inflation, right? How much of the inflation do you think is caused by 20 or 30 million people coming here and getting free, getting EBT, getting free stuff, getting or however they acquire money, right? And buying more groceries.
Yeah.
Right. More people buying groceries means the prices go up. Right. It's like basic economics, right? More demand on all the same stuff. Right. And of course, yeah, money supply and all those things is the major driver of inflation, but it's part of it.
Well, yeah, they're part and parcel, right?
Yeah. And like,
Is
why is the money supply going up? Well, because we got to pay more money to keep these people here.
Yeah.
That's awful.
I wonder if I got like a virus. Oh, look at this. I think I fixed it.
You got an Indian virus to turn everything into Hindi? It really was Hindi. I wish I could show everybody his thing. So I'm apparently wearing slippers. I know things. So anyway, anything else going on?
Oh, I fixed it.
Okay, good.
I've overcome the virus from India.
It could be Pakistani. You never know. There's about to be a war there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, talk about that, CJ.
I don't know. Like I've known nothing about it.
Apparently, some like Islamists, murdered a bunch of Indians in Kashmir, something like that. I mean, it's really vague. Like, there's like hard. I mean, other than like people posting memes about it and joking. I mean, like morbid humor, joking around about something so horrible.
Yeah. So India basically just shut off their water supply, right?
Yeah. So like in a whole bunch of Indians were killed in Kashmir by Pakistani Islamists for some reason. I mean, that's just stuff they do, right? And the Indian government is very angry about it, obviously, and wants. I don't even know what the demand. Like, I don't know what Modi has said the demands are to the Pakistani government, because there's got to be some kind of demands, like bringing the people that did it, extraditing them or something. And it seems like the Pakistanis are not playing ball, so India just shut off the Indus River Dam and all of like 80% of the water to Pakistan, right? So that could be war, right? And India sent their lone aircraft carrier. Did you see a picture of it?
No.
It's got a little ramp on the front. It's cute.
I think they bought it from Harbor Freight.
It's a cute little aircraft carrier. They sent their lone aircraft carrier toward Pakistan. And so, I mean, obviously, right, both of these countries have nuclear weapons. It's doubtful that either one, has there ever been two countries directly in war with each other that both possess nuclear weapons? Has that ever happened?
You're not in a hot war.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a direct conflict, open, declared war.
I don't think so.
I don't think it ever has happened.
No.
And I remember, 20 plus years ago, being a kid in public school, and we'd sit and we'd watch Channel 1 News. Anyone in the chat ever do that? Watch Channel 1 News? And there'd be like Lisa Ling reporting from Kashmir, and the Indians now have nuclear weapons, and so do the Pakistanis. There could be nuclear war over Kashmir. And like that was the story, like week after week after week after week, right? Every Tuesday morning in homeroom. And it gets like drilled into your heads like a liturgy. And then just nothing ever happened after that. And everybody forgot about it. And now it's like, oh, maybe now it is, 25 years later. And so, it could be, it could be massive conflict. But I mean, the thing that is interesting to me, JD Vance, I mean, that's the funniest meme is, first, JD Vance picks up the college football championship trophy, destroyed. JD Vance goes and meets the Pope, dead. JD Vance goes to India. They're about to go into nuclear war. So the best view is that it's like, JD Vance, please go visit my mother-in-law. But anyway, he went there to India, brought his family, brought his kids, took them to like a bunch of Hindu temples.
Yeah, weird stuff.
Yeah, but
gotta do what you gotta do,
I guess. But like there very clearly is an obvious strategic priority for the American regime, or any kind of like, I wouldn't even say the regime, because I look at the regime as the permanent government, but the new administration to pivot toward India.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, because they view, I mean, you see this stuff.
Well, just today,
Hegseth says, other people say, like, China is the adversary.
See Apple's announcement today?
No, I didn't.
They announced that they're shifting all their iPhone production from China to India.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a shift.
Yeah. So it's, oh man.
Yeah. See, that's what they're going to do.
That's why you got a Mac computer. That's why it's writing in.
I know.
Now.
Day one, and it's already controlled by.
It's already happening. But yeah, like
all US bound iPhone production from China to India.
Interesting. I mean, obviously it's because of tariffs, but
but the tariffs were made to encourage these moves.
It was supposed to be to America, not to India. Be that as it may, but the reason why
of a system is what it does.
Exactly, and the reason why they kind of did kid glove tariffs to India, is
obviously a deal being made.
Who was
the guy that was at NatCon?
Oh,
I mean, like that.
1 billion Indians are with you. Yes. Yeah, that guy. But yeah, like there is that's a signal, right?
It's a Republican. It's the Republican alignment. They're going to pursue, and it's just like, if there's one thing the right does not want, it's that. No. Like, but they dipped their toe in the water with Vivek and with Elon and the tech right, and they got smashed.
Yeah.
The Republican Party remains completely out of touch with their base.
Yes, they are. Well, I mean, yes, they are, but at the same time, money talks, and the big money wants H-1Bs. It wants all those things.
Because the money's out of touch with the base.
Yeah, the money is. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely it is. And so the other reason why, like geopolitically though,
they're gonna have like a visa relationship with India too. It's gonna get worse.
More Hindu temples, more 90-foot monkey statues of monkey demons in your backyard, everybody. But like the geopolitical reasoning is right. You want a major power, right?
If they build iPhones in India, they'll have to take away the burger.
Take away the burger emoji. That's good. That's good. And so yeah, like they want a large regional power to counter China, right? That's the goal. So you're propping up India, but the problem is you prop up India, they hate Pakistan, and so the first right. So think of like this scenario, right? Oh, we're buddying up with India.
This is where the realpolitik stuff that like Ron talks about a lot.
Yeah,
that I do too. Like this is the part where I'm not that interested in it. I don't want these geopolitical.
No. I'm interested in it only because of like the effect that it's going to have in my country, right? But like we buddy up with India. Modi's our pal now, and they think they're all big and tough. And the first time Pakistanis do anything to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, watch out! We got the U.S. on our side now."
Yeah.
Right. That's what this is. Right. Oh, you're going to be this like, this regional counter to China. Cool. And then immediately what do? They try to settle scores with the Pakistanis.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Like they don't care about China. They care about that. I mean, they do care about China a little bit, obviously, but their rival, their main enemy is Pakistan.
Yeah.
And now we prop them up.
What do you know?
Prop them up economically.
The behind that?
Yeah, I mean, when India went, like, it's all because of decolonization, right? I mean, Pakistan was and East Pakistan, Myanmar, that was all India, right? Yeah. And what they did, like, they basically said, all right, all the Muslims, you go to Pakistan. I mean, not all of them, because there's still a large Muslim population inside of India, but they're a minority. But Pakistan's going to be for the Muslim Indians, and India is going to be for mostly Hindu Indians.
So India wants to rewrite the the national lines and reclaim its territories.
Maybe they want to do the thing that they accuse Putin of doing, where it's like, no, it's all India
Putin.
now.
I wasn't even thinking Putin, but yeah.
Who were you thinking of? But yeah, I mean that's like the unintended consequence of playing these geopolitical games is you end up provoking stuff like this.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Maybe you're putting that back up there. Come on, man. Like, or is that Gary?
Gary,
stop it, Gary.
Gary, isn't he supposed to be on vacation?
Yeah, go out, do it to the beach.
We gave
play with
him
your
one
kids.
vacation every a decade, and he's sitting there on our stream.
I know. He's can't get enough of us.
Amazing. Let's read the speech.
So, yeah, should we do the ad before we do that?
I just bought a 6-pack of slabs. Or dang it.
Where is the ad?
You should go get some.
This is actually where we need Gary. Badly need Gary. We always need Gary. All right. I don't see it anywhere. Oh no. Gary.
Does he upload it each time?
I think he does.
He could play it right now, right? He could just do it. Have him do it.
All right. If you got it, Gary, just cut us off in the middle of conversation.
Yeah, just play it.
Otherwise, we're.
If you're like me, you grew up on beef jerky. It was a must-have for any road trip. But most beef jerky is loaded with sugar, soy, and nitrates. Ew. Farmer Bill's is a Christian-owned meat snacks company in South Dakota that offers pasture-raised meat snacks. They make biltong. It's like beef jerky, but air-dried with clean ingredients and way better. The pre-sliced biltong is perfect for protein on the go, and the slab is great for snacking or hosting a party. It's like a large, dry-aged ribeye with perfect marbling of fat.
Go to farmerbillsprovisions.com or click the link in the description below and use code CONTRA to save 20% off your order today.
Farmer Bill's Provisions, the perfect protein snack.
Stay safe. Mask up. Get the vax. Don't take unnecessary risks. Be careful. We've been coddled, smothered in warnings, trained to fear and avoid risk. We've been taught to play it safe and be on our guard. And not just against a scraped knee or a failed endeavor. No, we've been taught to censor our speech, our words, even our thoughts. Don't think those dangerous thoughts. Don't notice. Don't speak out. If you do, we're coming for you. Who's coming for you? It almost doesn't even matter. Whether it's the HR lady at your company of either sex, weaponized church courts, the social media censors, or even those you once considered allies. Watch out. Take care. Play it safe. But was it always this way? Have we always lived under this kind of stifling, wet blanketing panopticon? Is this the spirit of our Christian forefathers? Of the men who founded our nation in blood and in faith? Willing to face down all the might of Britannia and her redcoats? There was a time when Americans didn't shrink from risk, when they would rather die than bend. Our Christian forefathers knew what it was to draw the sword and throw away the scabbard. They knew what it was to set sail for the unknown. They defied tyrants. They built, explored, and dared great things. Who settled this land? Who built one of the greatest nations ever to be? Who settled the West and covered the continent from sea to sea with a Christian people? Who searched out glories, crisscrossed the plains with railroads, and fought off usurpers and invaders on all sides? Risk wasn't a bug, it was a feature. Without it, our fathers knew, there was no greatness. And now, we're supposed to trade boldness for bureaucracy? We're supposed to tremble at the unknown instead of mastering it? We're supposed to bow and scrape, not even before bullets, but before HR ladies? We don't think so. It's time to remember who we are. This year, join us here at New Christendom Press for our annual conference, Safety Third, Recovering the American Will to Greatness. 4 days to forge new friendships, build coalition, and work to recover what was lost. It's time to reclaim the spirit that built this nation, to break free from fear, to risk, to build, to lead. The future belongs to the bold.
We're back.
Okay, we are back.
We're back.
Everything's working. Yeah,
Computers are in English.
sweet. Okay, so back to the speech by Bowden.
I actually
Do you have it? I'll
Yeah.
read it. I'll read it. Maybe in the accent. I don't know.
Please don't.
I'll read the previous paragraph. All right, part of the multi-ethnic reconfiguration of these islands is America by proxy, because everything that happens there happens here with a slight time lapse, because we model ourselves upon their model of near open borders and fiscal and capitalist movement of money all over the world, whereby communist China now controls large sections of the debt mountain that holds up the United States, and where two systems that can be said to be at war with each other ideologically, ultra-capitalist America and post-communist China, actually have each other in a handshake as well as around the throat, because they now rely on each other to prop each other up in the chaotic world system that has now evolved. The euro is in desperate trouble, right? So this was in like 2011.
Mhm.
They did all the austerity stuff and all of that, and it's better now, but overall, as analysis remains the same, right? But the euro is in desperate trouble, and the Chinese were asked last month to help bail the euro out, and they refused. And quite rightly, they refused, because it's not in China's interest to bail out the European economies unless they're reduced to an African level where they can buy country by country. As you know, China is buying up Africa. They basically say to the black Africans in the sub-Sahara, unlike the whites and unlike the Arabs, we have never oppressed you. Let us buy your country. And they're swarming Africa. Eventually there will be, and there are partly, Chinese cities in Africa. It's not a stupid idea. They'll begin running the bureaucracies. They will end up with their own demographic change, and with a smile on their face as they do it, they will take that continent. There's a new scramble for Africa, and it's not Europeans who are doing it. Our time over there, when South Africa went, is gone. The problem is not the dispossession of our colonial elites of the past, but the dispossession of our communities at home and in the present. But my view is that as long as there's a vanguard to put forward the proposition of an exclusiveness for ourselves, there will always be hope. And that is independent of political parties. Political parties come and go. I believe a new one will be reconfigured in the next 18 months to 2 years on the basis of all the splitting which has gone at the present time. Isn't that
was completely. Did that happen?
Yeah, isn't that like
With-
what was Nigel Farage's party?
Reform.
Reform.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, eventually that's what happened, and they like Reform is still to the left of even the American GOP, right? But nevertheless, right? I believe that new political party is the way forward, but our own people won't vote for it. Not in sufficient numbers because they're afraid, and because they're in a funk, and because they would like something to happen but are frightened of the consequences and think that even to mention these things isn't nice. Only a vanguard can mention these sorts of issues, because only a vanguard is unafraid to deal with the thought of not being nice. These ideas afflict and paralyze our people to a degree which is quite extraordinary. I remember, back in 2022 when the whole Christian nationalism thing was like really big, right, or new, but it was like the thing the media is focused on and all of that. And anyone those of us who were like, yeah, like, what's the problem with being a Christian and being an American nationalist, right? Like, why is that wrong? Why is that bad? And supporting it and all of these things and kind of articulating various ideas. You would have people that are like, oh, are you trying to start your own political party? Right? Like constantly, that's what people would say. Like, you're going to try to get a political party and get 50% plus one of the American people to vote for you and all of that. And it's like, no, I have zero desire to. I mean, I have desire to discuss electoral politics, but not to engage in forming a political party and all of those things. Like that's folly. And for exactly the reasons that Bowden is describing here, right? People don't. I mean, it is remarkable that anybody wants to talk about mass deportations at all, and it is only because of Donald Trump, right? That's it, right? That's why. I mean, had he not appeared 10 years ago on the political scene, things would be the way they are or were back then, where you had like somebody like Tom Tancredo ran for president, I think in 2012, and he just looked like a crank, right? Like all he cared about was immigration and no one really cared. And now that's not it at all, right? That's all people do care about.
Yeah.
Because they've seen that they've been dispossessed, that their country is being taken from them.
Let's talk about being nice.
Yes, I love being nice. Everyone knows how nice I am.
Nice can be a very dangerous thing.
Extremely dangerous.
It's like a very it keeps people so passive that they're not willing to stand up, even in the face of civilizational enemies. They won't do anything.
Oh yeah.
I think that's like you and I have talked about this a lot. That's one of the things that characterizes the American conservatives. They were victims of their own niceness.
Oh yeah.
Like that's one thing you don't do. Like you can allow the Democrats to take over. You can allow abortion activists and gay activists and immigrationists, third worldists to come in and take over your country.
Yeah.
But not being nice, that's beyond the pale.
No. Yeah. Well, dude, this is the way it was. I mean, I was in Minnesota, and so that is a place that is literally characterized by being nice, right? Minnesota nice.
Yeah.
And I remember in that same time period, 2022, that the big issue was trans stuff in schools, children being groomed, all of that, the trans porn in the libraries, all the different sex ed programs for kindergartners and all of that. And people would look at you there, at least, like if you talked about it, you say like, you know what's going on? Like you're some kind of freak. Like, why can't you be nice? Why don't you talk about nice things? We don't want to talk about that. That's not nice. And nowhere else is that sort of attitude prevalent than in the church.
Yeah.
In the evangelical church, right? The greatest commandment in evangelicalism is to be nice, right? When we think about Jesus, there's no single characteristic about Jesus that is more important about who he is than he was nice to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He was so nice and sweet and gentle and kind. He would never say something like you're saying this, you're a monster, right? Jesus would not approve of how you talk about these things. And it's like, those are people that they've never read the Gospels, right? Or if they have, like, they're so clouded by this perception of Jesus as Mr. Rogers that you read him saying to the Pharisees, like, you brood of vipers, right? And castigating people, basically telling everyone in Israel, you are all going to die soon unless you repent, right? God is going to come and judge you, right? It's going to be worse for you than Sodom and Gomorrah unless you repent, right? Him saying stuff that just goes right over their heads. And then they think, oh, he's so sweet. And let the little children come to me. And there's little kids hanging out on his lap and maybe some lambs over here for them to pet and probably a rainbow in the background. Like, that's their perception of who Jesus is, not a king, right? Not a man of action, not a man even. And it pervades all of conservative culture at large as well. Like people, and that's what people are, right? People want to be left alone, right? Normal people don't want to engage in politics, right? Regular people, they just want to grill. And rather than and so what this is everybody complains about it. Like, oh, you catch the game last night? Did you guys watch the draft last night? I was very happy with the Vikings pick. Like, they needed a left guard really badly, and they got, I think, the best one. Right. That's what normies want to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they want to talk about. They don't want to talk about this. And everybody that is politically aware, politically engaged, right? They think we got to do something. We got to get the normies to wake up. And it's like, no, like, this is the point of vanguardism, is they're never going to wake up.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they could be standing in front of a mass grave on their knees with a gun at the back of their head and thinking, man, good thing we didn't, use political power. We'd be just like these guys. Right. Like, that's the stone toss meme. Right. And like, that's how they are. They don't want to do it. They want everyone to like them. They want to have all their neighbors think they're wonderful people. All their coworkers think they're wonderful people. They don't want to be hated. Right? Nobody wants to be hated. I don't want to be hated.
Yeah.
But I've done the calculus in my head. I would rather be hated and have my country for my children than be loved by everyone and lose it. Normies don't make that calculus at all, right? They don't care. It's never going to happen to me. It's never going to happen to me. It's over there somewhere else, right? Until your daughter gets murdered and raped by an illegal alien, right? But then that's a one-off thing, right? And or your son gets stabbed in the heart, right? Well, we forgive him, and I don't want. I mean, just think of all the evil racists that are going to use this, right? So, like that's the attitude. Just think of the
peace
backlash against peaceful Muslims if they blew up New York City with a nuclear bomb, right? Like that's how normies. Like that's why the norm tweet is so funny, because that is the way that normies think.
Yeah,
right. They are nice. They want to be nice. They want everyone else to be nice, but the world is full of not nice people. Right, these judges, right, all the ones that Trump has arrested and the ones that he should arrest, right, all the people in Congress, all the people in DC are evil people. They're psychopaths. They have zero conscience about any of the evil stuff that they're doing. And, right, normies don't want to think about that because it's not nice. But that's why it falls upon the vanguard to actually think about those things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So, anything else you want to add there?
No, that's it.
Or you just wanted me to get going on being nice?
I wanted to lecture on nice, and I got it.
Yeah, you got it, man. You got it. All right, so, back to Batten. But my view, I won't do it.
Don't do it.
Is that as long as there's a vanguard to put forward the proposition?
You already did that.
Oh, dang it!
Next
paragraph.
paragraph.
It's a good paragraph. Probably viewed systematically. More pressure has to be put there to be more of a radical response. Such pressure is always possible. Economic collapse is always possible. New wars and disturbances are always possible. But one thing we may have to get used to is the idea that as a group and as an ethnicity, we exist in Europe and North America and Australasia and all over the world. There are plenty of other groups who see themselves as transnational groups who see their destiny all over the world. They see their destiny in vanguard terms. They see their destiny as having a core group within their own selves that could come back from anything genetically and in other ways. Not only do they ask the question, what is asked of them, is it good for me or is it bad for me or a group? They're also prepared to cleave to their own group in times of trouble. Certain groups have preserved themselves 60 to 70% and more genetically since the ancient world, and they have done so by a culture of coherence and identity which crosses national borders and which understands that if a group is to survive, it may need to adopt some radical measures which involve rolling with the blows. All right, so which group is he talking about here in particular?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Where are you?
I'm in the little tiny paragraph there where it says certain groups.
Oh, have preserved.
You're paying attention, man? Donnie, you're out of your element. He doesn't know that reference.
I don't know that reference.
If Gary was here, you wouldn't know it either.
I don't know I don't know what he's talking about there.
Certain groups have preserved themselves 60 to 70% and more genetically since the ancient world. And they've done so by a culture of coherence and identity, which crosses national borders and which understands that if a group is to survive, it may need to adopt some radical measures which involve rolling with the blows. All right. Well, he's talking about a particular ethno-religious group in Europe.
He's talking about the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's saying that as a group, like they didn't have a country for 2,000 years. And they're able to retain their national identity despite being a diaspora all over Europe and beyond. And he's looking at them as an exemplar of a dispossessed people. Right? English and British people exist all over the world. We exist all over the world, all over Europe, all over North America, all over Australasia, in quite a few countries of Latin America and most of the ex-colonies. English is the language of the world. It is the lingua franca of modernity or postmodernity. We've given the world a great lot. And this is just to refract our own identity through the national consciousness of one particular people who are actually a part of it. So I think that the worst thing that can be uttered at this time is despair, because there are more than enough of us to provide the vanguard which is necessary. The trick is to link the vanguard to the popular will and find a way to link the vanguard to the popular will. Right? That's the trick.
Mm-hmm.
Linking the vanguard to the popular will.
What's you know what a mechanism for doing that is?
What?
In the American setting, it's the executive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is like Jacksonianism 101, that all these other aspects of the federal government have, they represent a certain people, right? The president is the only one that represents all the people. This is exactly what
Yes.
he argued, because the Jacksonian moment was actually a repudiation of the original constitutional structure. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know that Jackson
Too
sort of
casual.
redefined
I
it.
gotta sit up.
That the executive, the president specifically is the only one that represents the people. Congress represents localities.
Yes.
The Senate represents the states. The president himself was actually elected not
By
by the
everyone.
states, but by all the people.
Yes.
And so, like the link, like Bowden says here, you have to. The trick is to find a link from the vanguard to the popular will. Well, the president is the one that does that. The English
It's the
no
king.
longer. Well, yeah, but the
Should be
English
the
no
king.
longer have that.
Yeah.
Like de facto, right?
I mean, unless
Prince
William, King William, maybe King William the Ninth, right?
American Crusader says, "Is this Jacksonian or is this Nixonian?" It's actually very Jacksonian.
Yeah.
And
it's
Nixon leaned into that, I think, a little
Yes,
bit.
he did.
But it is like people
Yeah.
don't realize that Jackson redefined the presidency.
Yeah.
And FDR took that up. Teddy Roosevelt took that up.
Abraham Lincoln took that up.
Abraham Lincoln took that up.
We're Lincoln maxing now, everyone.
Well,
We have to be.
That's the irony of history,
Right.
Is that we are
I
using
want
the
Donald Trump
tools
to do
that they
Lincoln
gave
stuff.
to us.
Exactly.
Yes.
I want him to do Lincoln stuff, right? We're at war.
And
It's a domestic war.
Suddenly
He needs to start arresting people.
the left wants to be originalists now, right?
Mhm.
Because it's being used against them. So
of course
the-
they're going to.
So for the stone toss meme, the actual situation is that we've been telling the left for years that someday it's going to be turned against you, and now that moment's here.
Yeah.
They love Lincoln. They love FDR.
Yeah, until they don't
Um,
anymore.
And then now it's our turn. And
Yeah.
so it's like, look, you gave us the tools and we're using what you gave us. You
Yeah.
have an entire century of doctrine praising the unitary executive.
Mhm.
I'm in.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I
the
mean,
link.
it's the opposite of what like these like Lolbert say, or that stupid Australian woman. Oh, she's awful.
Claire Lehman.
Claire Lehman. Like, oh well, if you're opening up Pandora's box and using all these powers, like think about when they get back into power. And it's like, no, you have it exactly backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Backwards.
They opened up Pandora's box, and now
We have
it's
the power.
our turn.
Yeah.
Right. We have
You
the power. We're
said
gonna undo
for
it.
over a century that
Yeah.
we were allowed, that the president was allowed to act in these ways.
Yeah, he was.
All right.
And guess what? We have the presidency now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna start doing that stuff.
Who was the one that was arresting judges when they didn't comply with his desires?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
He arrested congressmen.
He rescinded a habeas corpus. I mean,
Yeah.
people talk about like executive orders. Have you seen the chart of like different presidents issuing executive orders?
Mm-hmm.
FDR has like 400 or something
Mhm.
in his first term.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to look that up while you keep
Yeah,
reading.
you look it up. Let's keep going because we still have quite a bit left. So far, organizationally in the post-Second World War world, there's been a failure to link the vanguard to the popular will, and that has occurred all over the societies of Western and Central Europe, and has occurred even in the post-communist Eastern European societies, where it did appear that such a thing was in the cards immediately after communism collapsed. It's also true to say that communism inoculated these populations against the worst and most noxious forms of liberalism. Right. So, for instance, I mean, this is a point that Paul Gottfried has made a lot. That West Germany the former West Germany is in way worse shape than the former East Germany. Right.
Uh-huh.
All of AfD's support is from the former East Germany because they still consider themselves distinctly German.
Right.
And want to preserve Germany as a people, as a country, as an entity. West Germany is totally liberal, right? They see themselves as global citizens, that anybody can be a German,
Mhm.
right? You just have to come here and maybe you start speaking German, maybe not. Just come here and maybe you stab people, maybe you don't. Right? Like that's how they think.
Yeah.
Right. That's liberal. That's American liberalism imported and socially controlled upon them. And after the fall of the Iron Curtain in the 90s, right, there was a moment where it looked like, okay, you could have popular sovereignty in these countries once again. They could be self-determining peoples. And the only place that's even remotely like that is maybe Hungary today. maybe Poland to some extent, but they're still feeding from the Poles are still feeding from the trough of NATO, right? Right, they are right. There's much more nationalist fervor there than much of the rest of Europe, but at the end of the day, they're going to do the bidding of NATO all the way, right? And you can understand why they're afraid of Russia, but that's what happened, right? There is no, and the point is, right? If it's like rightism, this is rightism, basically, right? That particular nations exist, and they have a particular will. Chief among that, within that will, is to perpetuate their existence. And liberalism is the opposite of that, right? You're not a people. You don't matter. You're just
There's no corporate will. There's no corporate identity.
No, you're just random individuals, right? In an economic zone. And so, right, that order was established in the West after the Second World War by the United States, and it functionally was illegal to be right wing in the United States, in Great Britain, in France, Germany, Italy, everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, you could not be right wing. You would go to prison if you were, or in America they didn't have to do that. Right, you were just linked to Nazism or fascism or something like that. Right, you're treated like the John Birchers were, and it's de facto illegal in America, and it still was up until maybe 2015. Mm-hmm. So the new right writer, Tomislav Sunik, I'm maybe butchering that. I'm sorry if I am. Who lived under communism and was imprisoned by it in Croatia. With other members of his family, once said that communism rots the body, but liberalism rots the soul. And there's a strong degree of truth to that remark, because liberalism attacks the internal front on the front of values and identity. Mm-hmm. It's why the majority of our people refute their vanguardistic yearnings and callings. So, for instance, right, I'm sure many of you saw the video of Thomas Skinner. Bosh! It's a lovely Friday today, mate. I always sound Australian when I try to do the accent. Right. Yeah, he went on Good Morning Britain, right? So like the Today Show for England on the BBC. And there's this like Indian woman. I think she's Indian. I don't know what she was, but she's freaking out that he's waving the St. George's flag. And she's like, that flag doesn't represent me. Yeah. We need a new flag. Right. That flag represents all the evil things that Britain did to my people and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I mean, if I was him sitting there, I'd be like, get out of my country. This is I'm English. You're not.
Yeah.
This is my country. My people have been here for thousands of years.
Did you see that debate about whether someone was English? Oh. Did you see that a couple of weeks ago?
Like Rishi Sunak or
yeah. And he was like,
oh yeah. That's maybe a month or two ago now.
Yeah. So it's just so like these people are like, they can't even speak honestly about things.
No, you're not English.
But that's what liberalism is yeah, like English is whoever says they're English, whoever has a passport, whoever has the paper, that's English. Yeah, that's what liberalism does. It sucks out your soul.
This is what she was saying. We want to be tolerant and inclusive, and that flag is not inclusive. It's like, yeah, it's English. it's not for everyone. It's for our people, which you are not part of.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why it's like, when I see these like Hamas supporters, and they're all foreign, right? They're all from third world countries at the different units. People get mad at me about this because they think, well, why are you siding with the Israelis? And it's like, these are people in our country who hate our country, hate us, and they hate Israel, right? Not because they have objections to, American money, that it's
they're not America firsters.
Yeah, that it's bad for America to have that relationship. Like maybe we would make that argument, right? They're doing it because they say these people are white, they're colonizers, they're oppressors, just like these Americans. We hate them.
Yeah.
And so they burn our flag, they burn the Israeli flag. And it's like, I want those people gone. The guy that Trump, took away his visa and then they just threw him in a van and got rid of him. I'm like, great. I do not care. He needs to go. I don't want him here. Right? He hates my country. They all hate our country. Right? They see the American flag and that's not inclusive. Right? That's a flag of bigotry and racism and fascism and every kind of ism. It's not inclusive, right? We need a new flag. We need a flag of the world, right? I mean, this is what happened in Minnesota, right? They had the old Minnesota flag, and I mean, I never thought it was beautiful or anything. Just all the ones that just have the state seal, like they're not unique or anything like that. But I don't care about the aesthetic argument, right? We need a flag that's inclusive of all Minnesotans, right? And so then they adopt a flag that was based on Somalia, right? Right, for the new Minnesota, right? New Minnesotans.
Yeah. Well, it's like the same height thing. Like when an outsider comes in and they want to change your flag, it's not up for debate with you.
Yeah.
No. It's our flag. Like I can squabble with internal people, like native Minnesotans, native Californians, about what we should do with our flag. But when someone comes from another country and they want to change it, it's not inclusive. It's like, no. Yeah. No, I'm not going to have that debate with you. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Like my ancestors came to barren prairie and built that state.
Yeah.
Right. Those people came to get on welfare from my family and everyone else working. Right. We're not the same.
Yeah.
Right. You were no. Like, I mean, just this week there was a Somali, a St. Peter man, right? A St. Peter man, Muhammad Abdul, whatever, right? Arrested, 19-year-old who was arrested. The Shields I would go to like all the time, take my kids there. The Shields. He's asking me what's a Shields, and it's like the best store. It's like a sporting goods Buc-ee's, right? So we'd go there all the time. Well, he went there to like shoplift $2,000 worth of magazines and ammunition and that kind of stuff, right? And because he wanted to do a mass shooting and kill a bunch of people, and I'm thinking like, why is he here? Right?
Well,
why is he in our country?
Here's the idea.
And we know the reason why.
It's not just about welfare, but what if they actually think of themselves as settlers?
Yeah, well, you saw the clip of Ilhan Omar and like the Somali group that she was talking to, and they're saying like, yeah, her job is to take money from America and send it to send it back to Somalia. And there's a like in Michigan or Ohio, state legislator who like verbatim said that my job is just to give money to Somalis. And like they self-consciously view it that way, right? They don't have a desire to. We're gonna assimilate, and I'm gonna adopt American culture.
No, they're settlers. They want to reconquer it.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what liberalism does, and right, you're not allowed to say these things. Right, you're not nice, right? Like the regular person who just wants to grill, just wants to watch NFL football, right? They're gonna hear you say this stuff. I think you are a bad, mean, nasty person.
Yeah.
Because you don't want, Abdul Muhammad to, kill hundreds of people with shoplifted magazines or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's the job of the Vanguard to say the things the people don't want to say. Right. So because the Vanguardistic tendency, like it is there in the normie deep down, right? Like Thomas Skinner is sitting there waving the Georgia's flag, and you can see in his eyes, right? I've made a huge mistake, right? You can just see, like you can see in his eyes, like what has happened to my country, right? Yeah. You could see him, sweet, jolly British man, who just wants to, watch footy and is that what they call it?
Football.
Yeah. And drink pints, and be a governor, right? Like turning into Enoch Powell, right in that very moment, right? That's what was happening. So most particularly, most people, particularly teenage boys, have a sort of yearning for vanguardism when they're early in life, and they forget it as they get older, and it becomes smeared and smudged by various forms of liberal orthodoxy. Right, that's a point right there. I mean, he's writing this in 2011 before, like Twitter, before most social media really took off. Right, that is a function that social media has. Is like teenage boys, like young men, are naturally vanguardistic. Mm-hmm. Right, like they're naturally very patriotic, and they like to brawl and fight, and right, there's this unbridled passion that they have that gets smothered. Right, it's one of the functions of of liberal education is the smothering den mother. No, that's a naughty thing. You cannot say that. But when you're a teenager, like you just like when I was in high school, I like circulated a petition to remove all the Somalis.
You did, right?
Yeah, I did. Like they were there, and it's like these people don't pay taxes, they disrupt everything, and they all sorts of money is going to like I didn't like it. Right. How far be it for me to like have, I mean, we're in a Springfield, Missouri or a Springfield, Ohio situation, right? Where like all of a sudden one day, 20% of our high school is Somali.
Yeah.
And all we hear all day is, and I'm not allowed to be like, hey, I think something's not right here. Yeah, I think this isn't so good. And so yeah, I did. Oh yeah, I totally did. And it made all the teachers mad. Yeah. And of course, you like that though. You like making them mad. You like troll, like young guys. They like trolling, right? They like rustling jimmies. Yeah. And that goes away as you get older. So I'll read that again, right? So keep that in mind as I read that. And so it's interesting that he makes this note here, thinking about online and what online does, because it allows the vanguardism to be expressed by young men. Most people, particularly teenage boys, have a sort of yearning for vanguardism when they're early in life, and then they forget it as they get older, and it becomes smeared and smudged by various forms of liberal orthodoxy. They start either not voting, or they vote for one of the prescribed parties, conservative and unionist, liberal, Democrat, and labor. As long as you remain in that area, you're pretty safe in this country, job-wise, career-wise, patrimonially-wise, in terms of reputation, in terms of bourgeois reputation in particular. If you step outside those boundaries, and it's quite a wide boundary, liberals would say, look, we've given you as wide a space as almost anywhere in the world where you can cavort and make hay and make political pronouncements. Why do you need to go outside that? Why need you go into these extremist and unheralded furrows and sort of support things which are countercultural and anti-system? And the reason that one would choose to do so is because they are not in the interests of the group from which one originates. That's the only reason one would choose to do so, right? And so think about the stuff that like we're involved in, right? The stuff that we write, the stuff that we say, the stuff we talk about, all the things, both in the political sphere and in the ecclesiastical sphere and cultural sphere, right? Like there's every incentive out there for me and for you and for all of our guys to just not care about any of this at all, right? Just to shut up about it, to not care, right? Why do we do it, right? Why do we do the things that we do? Because it's in the interests of our people, American Christians, to say and write and speak and pursue the things that we are doing. It's in our people's interests to do so. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. That's the only reason why you would do it. Right? There are a million reasons why you wouldn't do it. There's only one reason why you would. Right? Because we actually care about our people. Right? The only reason for vanguardism is for the elite to protect the mass and seek to bring it forward in history, because the mass can never act for itself, right? Populism is a myth, right? It is never going to happen, right? You have to have a small group that gets it, right? A small group that actually pursues the interests of the larger group as a whole, because the larger group, they are sheep without shepherds, right? And that's the way mass groups of people are in general. Right? They can't coordinate. They can't pursue their own collective interests. They just don't. Right? This is how God designed the world. Right? This is why, I quoted the Bible there. Like, this is like, why does Jesus say it like that? Because that's the way people are. In Orwell's novel 1984, which I mentioned, at the end, Winston and Julia fail in their rebellion, feeble though it was, against the all-powerful party, and Orwell wants them to be seen to fail in the end of the novel. But hope lies in the proles, if you remember. Hope lies in the thick-set woman with the laundry basket who's singing a song. It was only a hopeless fancy. You remember that. It was only a hopeless fancy. As she puts the diapers on the line, she's singing, it was only a hopeless fancy, which is a prole feed song given to them by the Ministry of Propaganda in that particular society. My view is that the future always allies with the elite, not with the mass. The future allies with those that will mold the mass and will prepare for its energization when a moment comes. That is why my message is not one of despair, but of hope for the future. Because as long as indigenous, nationally conscious, ethnically aware, racially aware, inegalitarian, elitist, and other values and views are put forth in a coherent way, in a sane way, in an educated way, because people expect views to be put forward in such a way, as long as that happens, there will always be hope for the future. Because people will align in extremis with their own defense mechanism, and they will align with the people who have put forward the defensive barrister's case, which can become offensive as well as defensive in a particular political and social moment. All right. So what do you think about that?
You know, one of the things that's funny, like about you being on Tucker, and then William Wolf was there in the White House and everyone was freaking out. You can just, like, certain people who are dedicated and want it enough can just access those things. And I think that's kind of what he's talking about, like a dedicated minority of people who are willing to do what it takes. You don't need millions of people to give you attention. You can mull yourself into certain areas and appeal to that collective conscious, and people will pay attention. You can, like, all masses have their view of the world molded for them. This is actually, this is not a woke right thing. This is what John Adams said, actually. You know, in the early Republic.
John Adams was woke right. CJ,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I mean, he has this long letter about the fact that people are always just going to reflect the interests and priorities of those above them. And that's totally right. There's a long history in America, right? America, this is basic American political theory, the Federalist Papers, right? The elites will always control things. And so what the vanguard is it seeks to carve out for itself a path toward an elite place.
Yeah. The question, I mean, that's always the thing too, is not, oh, well, what if we just don't have elites? Right? Like, a lot of populist stuff is that, like, the elites, right? I mean, we joke, like, the elites don't want you to know this, right? Like, there's always going to be elites. There's always going to be a hierarchy. And the elites that we do have are evil, wicked people that are destroying our people, right? Consciously, right? That is their goal, is to destroy our nation, destroy our people, get rid of our people, keep them from having families and children, having a future. And robbing that from them, right? That every day, every minute of every day, that is what they're doing, right? That is what they're pursuing, right? Every one of these injunctions, every single thing that happens in DC and in the universities and in the media and everything else, right? There are people at the very top who hate this country and hate its people and wish to see it destroyed, right? That's reality. And it isn't just, oh, we get rid of those people. No, you have to replace them, right? You have to replace them with your own elite.
Yeah.
Right. I want people ruling over my country that are smarter than me, that love the country at least as much as I do, love its people as much as I do. That's what I want. Right. I don't want everyone to just do whatever is right in their own eyes. Right. I don't want anarchy, actually, because that is a hopeless fancy.
Yeah.
Right. What isn't is that there will always be someone in charge. There always will be a hierarchy. And I want the hierarchy to be people that are on our side, on the side of our people, on the side of our country, that are pursuing our interests, that always ask the question, is this good for my people or not? Right. And there's all this, all sorts of people like, oh, can we really trust JD Vance? I mean, we talked about how he took his kids to a Hindu temple and things like that. But I look at this guy, maybe he's blowing smoke. Maybe he's just telling me what I want to hear.
He's not.
But
he's real.
Right. What's he saying? All right. He's saying, is this good for our people? I mean, even in the, like, you get a little hint of this in the Signal chat that got leaked. Right. He's like, my main concern is our people are not going to understand why we're doing this. Why does it benefit them? Right. That is exactly the kind of elite that I want. Right. Someone who asks that question, is this good for our people? Will our people understand why we're doing this? Will they understand that this is in their interest or not? And he says, I don't think they will think that. Right. That's the elite that you have to have. Right. That right there. Right. One who goes speaks to millions of people at the Republican National Convention when he accepts the nomination for vice president and says, America is not merely an idea. It is a people and a place. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody says that. Nobody has said that for decades at that level of prominence, but he has.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He has. Right? America is a people with real interests. And all the things that have been done, certainly in the last 4 years, but really for decades, that question has never been asked. Is this good for our people? Right? Is this good for Americans? Right? Oh, do we go to war here or not? Is this good for Americans? No. Who's the last president that said those things?
President Nixon.
Oh,
Well, there's some wrong Reagan.
Reagan did a little
it
bit,
could be-
but
yeah,
how much of that is just him being an actor, a Hollywood actor? You know?
I think he was well intentioned.
I think he
I'm
was
not.
too.
I'm not a Reagan.
I'm not a Reagan
stan.
hater, but I'm also not like he could do no wrong. He's the model for all politics forever. No. But I mean, I think he was also subverted early on.
Yeah,
right? This is why
exactly.
he was nearly assassinated. Because he did have those instincts, and
Nixon though understood it self-consciously.
yeah, I think in a different way than I mean,
And Nixon was also a lot smarter, and
Yeah.
he understood what was going on in the world.
was craftier. Yeah, that's why
I have a couple more minutes.
you only have a couple. Well, we're almost done.
Are we? No, we're not.
we might have to do-
We're not even close.
Maybe we'll have to do part 3. It's 3:30. We'll be okay. I'll talk to myself. Do that all the time. Where are we? Yes, my view is that as long as there is a continuous effort to put forward the elitist agenda of our own group, in the sense that a proportion of our people are prepared to place upon their own shoulders the burden of moral leadership of their own group, that's what the Black Muslims do. What the Black Muslims in the United States do is they put themselves forward in the most radical way possible. The bulk of American blacks have no interest in Islam at all and are Christian and are deeply so and will only vote for Christian politicians. Yet their most radical vanguard group has adopted Islam. And they have done so because in their own way of looking at things, they consider it to be less white, a less Western formulation, which is more in keeping with their own sense of their own self, their own strength, their own determinacy. A similar phenomenon can be found among so-called white extremists, where many evince pagan and other views because they basically want a viewpoint which, to their point of view, is totally cardinal and it relates to themselves and no one else. But that's fine because all those views do is sustain the strength of the vanguard. That's why people adopt radical metaphysical views about which many people in this room would argue among themselves. But that's not the point. They're the fuel. They're the food. They're the element that keeps people staunch because it's difficult among the withering condescension of a liberal society to maintain an elitist identity politics. It's not straightforward. It's not easy. And therefore, you need to draw upon certain strengths which are theoretical and which are metaphysical and which are emotional as much as anything else, because one's tied to one's own group as an emotional pull, just as one's tied to a regiment if one's a soldier has an emotional pull. All right. So what do you think about that? Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically describing matter. Like, don't counter signal your own. Like they can be fueled. They can help with the dialectic.
I think the
That's what he's saying.
Yes, but the greater point is that there will be something, a deep fundamental view, a religious view that would be out of step with the masses, right? That is what fuels the van. I mean, there's many examples of this beyond the two that he gave, because there has to be something fundamental that self-consciously separates you from everyone else, right? Because if you're in this liberal, just soup of everything, you need something with that very, like you said, emotional pull, very strong emotional pull, to keep you together. And so you can see that with Nation of Islam and that group. I mean, I think you can see it also within our own group, right? The type of flavor or denomination or whatever tradition of Christianity that that our own vanguard espouses is very different from the rest of evangelicalism.
Yeah.
Right. It's largely Calvinistic, whereas most evangelicalism is semi-Pelagian. It is It has a radically different view of worship, right? That is much more true. I mean, a lot of it is just it seeks whether and it crosses kind of denominational bounds, right? You think of the Baptists that are our guys, or the Presbyterians, or even the Lutherans, or even I would even say of the Catholics that would associate with us, right? What's the thing that they all have in common is even in their like they try to attend churches that have a much more rigid traditionalist view of worship, right? Almost uniformly, right? Their view of worship very much more high church. Even among Baptists, right? As high church as Baptists could be.
This is a really niche part of the vanguard, though. Like, I don't.
It is, but it's true though, and I think it matters a lot.
I think there's really good people on the right that should work together more with, that are not really into that sphere of things.
No, I understand that, but I think
the right's broader. I think that
it certainly
the
is.
Christian right has the best group strength right now, and
But what I'm saying is specifically the Christian right. Right, not the broader right in general, because then you do get into people that are either irreligious or
I do think though that even among the broad right, Christianity is stronger than paganism, and I don't know if that was true 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh no, it wasn't.
No, I think like there's a lot. I have people in mind that are like they're self-consciously aware of their own pro-Christianity. I mean, I think that's coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, some of it is like just our own vanguardism within evangelicalism is that like I know that if I begin to talk about worship and theology and so forth with just your average evangelical mega church, big box church attender, like their eyes are going to glaze over, and that's like the best case scenario, or they're going to be like, you're weird and a crazy person, right? If you and even if you're not like criticizing their worship, like you're not going on the offensive and attacking the way they do things, you're saying, well, this is why we do this. Like they cannot understand why, right? There's so many presuppositions you have to work through, and but what it does do though is like deep in like this deep emotional level. Right. You see this after 2020, like why like the Series C, for instance, grew so much, is people realized that there was something missing in what they were getting, right? Because evangelical Christianity in America matches kind of the liberal slop of everything else, and they wanted something more rooted, right? More rooted in tradition, more rooted in the way Christians have done things for a very long time. And that I think is a major driver of that kind of growth. I mean, beyond just like, there's a weird correlation between the churches that are like that and the ones that stood up to the COVID regime. And so anyway, and there's a desperation for like, on the right, they recognize that the importance of the Christian religion to Western civilization, right, to the history of the West, and they also have metaphysical categories for good and evil that map onto biblical categories, right, perfectly.
Yeah,
right. They see there's lots of evil stuff, so therefore, maybe the Bible's true, right? And they could see, right, even though they've been inundated with propaganda since their youth that no, homosexuality is great, it's wonderful, and you need to love it. They're like, no, I don't. And the only people that even a tiny bit stand against it are Christians. So maybe the Bible's true. And so there are lots of people that are seeking that, and this scant few evangelical Christians that are willing to not be nice, right? Willing to say, this is true. This is what the Bible says. I don't care if you hate me for it. It's what it is. And who are they? Well, they're basically guys in our larger sphere, right? And that's why, right? That's why it's continued to grow. What attended a smoke machine church once after being invited. Bizarre experience. I don't know why people go to those willingly. The cringe was off the charts. Well, that's the thing. When you're the like normies don't have a cringe meter, right? That's why cringe exists. Right?
Normies don't have a
They
cringe.
can't they are not able to identify cringe.
Yeah.
Right? They aren't, right? Why is there cringe everywhere? Well, that's because like why was Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men the most watched television show in America for a decade?
That's
Right. Why? Because they eat that stuff up.
Yeah.
They have no sense of cringe. Right? That's why. And so it's the same thing. Anyway, I love normies. I do. I do, but
Yeah, you do.
I do. I really do. But it's like you got to know, like this is where our people are at, right? They can't detect. They get bamboozled by stuff like that. And so let's finish up here because I know
Let's
you have
do
to
one
go.
more paragraph.
It's a short period. Two more. That emotional pull is extremely important. The theories are there for the upper part of consciousness and the upper part of the mind. They're also to keep people subtle and to keep people clever and to keep people alert. Because if there is such a crisis that our people feel they cannot survive, they will turn not us, but to people like us. They always have and they always will. The crisis in our own hearts. Well, before I go to the next paragraph, right? That's the other thing too, is like a lot of people within the vanguard get really upset when people that are a little bit more normie than you are start talking like you. It's like, I've been talking about that stuff this whole time and nobody cares about what I think.
Yeah, that's dumb because like if you eventually want
That's
to
the
have
point of being in the vanguard.
yeah, is eventually, and you're not going to get the praise for it,
No.
and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? If everybody on Fox News started, talking about things the way I tweet, I would not, and I get no credit for it at all, and I'm still a nobody. Great.
I mean, how often is
Great.
Pat Buchanan brought up in terms like today, right now, in the mainstream press, as Fox News is actually supportive generally of Trump right now in his deportation efforts?
Mhm.
How like Pat Buchanan never gets mentioned, but he's been talking about this for 30 years.
Yeah, and it's a sad reality, right? But like I know that I am never going to be like have 1 million Twitter followers or our YouTube channel is going to have 1 million subscribers or anything like that. Like I know that. I'm conscious of that. Like that is never going to happen, and I'm okay with it. And I'm also like
I still believe though.
like if
I might
like,
get 1 million.
like 5 I know if like 5 years from now, because this is a thing I think is maybe going to happen. If like 5 years from now, 2030, Owen Strahan is tweeting exactly the same stuff I say right now, right? And he's a big shot. Everybody loves him. Blah blah blah. And I'm not. I mean, I don't trust him, and he's a snake, and he's a horrible person. But if that happens, am I going to be like angry about that and think I've been saying this and I've been toiling away in obscurity for forever? Actually, no, I'm not. Like I've already like game planned this out in my own brain, right? I'm not going to get any credit for anything. I'm not going to get my day in the sun, and that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. I do not care.
I don't think he's ever going to get there. He's going to be Stoinkos meme all the way down.
You're probably right. But others though, I mean, others in that orbit definitely are.
Yeah.
And
you can definitely tell the
and I think he's proven himself so untrustworthy that like even if he starts saying this, nobody's gonna like trust him. But regardless, right? People in the popular sphere start saying this kind of stuff. I'm not gonna care because I care about our people. Right? We must destroy trash. Come what may. Thank you, Truddle. Or Tuttle. No, Truddle. I always mess up his nom de guerre. But like that's going to happen, right? CJ Engel is not going to be a household name, probably.
Yeah.
And
probably.
Well, we'll see. Right. It's okay. Right. I'm okay with that because I want our people to win. Right. Yeah. I care about our people more than myself.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't. It doesn't. Right. If that happened, like think about if that happens.
That's actually the thing that kills vanguards. Actually, it was when people do it for themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. If my children can live in the kind of America I grew up in, or my parents grew up in, and nobody knows my name, I don't get any accolades for it. I can get a medal pinned on my chest in the White House.
Here's a good example.
I don't care.
a good example right now is Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Because like 7 years ago, Charlie Kirk was extremely like cringe boomer, like, you know, like just
extremely bad.
sloppy. And he's saying things now, even like Matt Walsh, they're saying things now
Yeah.
that 5 years ago people were fired for.
Matt Walsh is probably better. I mean, just look at the things he's saying today. You know, like today on the timeline.
Like, but seriously, like,
yeah, exactly.
Like 3 years ago, people were getting fired for what he's saying now, and he was counter signaling those people.
Yes, he was. Like, he was like, guys just love wandering through construction sites. You know, when the Ahmaud Arbery thing was going on.
Yeah,
right. He was countering everybody. He was like, the guy was there to steal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's obvious. And now if that happened today, he would be like, these guys
and he's not apologetic. He's not saying I was wrong. You know, like all the he like, and we don't need him to. But suddenly you have mainstream voices that are saying the same things that 5 years ago, man. Like,
and people might say like, oh, well, it's safer now, but like he still could get fired. It is a large degree safer, but it's still extremely controversial.
And who cares if it's safer though? I don't care. It doesn't matter either way.
How did it get safer? Right? What happened?
Yeah.
Right. The work of the Vanguard happened. That's why it's safer now. Right. That's why there's a vibe shift. Right. That's why these things took place.
Mm-hmm.
Like people online were pointing out that the emperor had no clothes, right, to tiny little audiences again and again and again and again. And finally, right, people closer to normie world start picking up on it.
Yeah.
And political power starts picking up on it. That's how things change.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's the question we have to ask. If like we're doing all this, we're posting, we're writing, if everyone watching us is doing the same kind of stuff, and we never get a single thank you, right? You never even said thank you.
Who cares?
Right. Did you say thank you once? Like if we never get one, I'm okay with that because it means we won.
Yeah.
I would rather win and get no credit at all than get all the credit in the world and lose.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if a vanguard is to be successful, it has to be full of men with that mindset. That, I'm not going to make a name for myself, but there will be a future for our people, or there'll be a future for our country. That's what I want. Right. That's what I want. Last paragraph, because it's hard to know where to cut it off, man. The crisis in our own hearts and minds is the addiction of our people to liberal answers whilst they remain in zones of economic comfort. That is the problem. Of course, there are all sorts of our people who are not in zones of economic comfort at all. But the problem is that so many of them are so degraded by the consequences of life and exist day to day that they have no concern with the more general, with more theoretical and with sociological changes. They're concerned with this luncheon voucher, this meal tomorrow. This is it to the NHS. They're concerned with what is fundamentally before them at any particular time, right? The problem of economic comfort is a massive one, right? I mean, that's the thing. Like with my own book, like the biggest criticism I would get, and most of the criticism was like bad faith, right? But and this is bad faith too. But the biggest criticism I would get would be from people who have a nice job, right? They make a good income. They live in a nice house. They live in a nice community. They have children, and things are just good for them, right? Which is now a much, much smaller group of people than it was even 4 years ago. But things are good for them. And so what do they say? Right. Someone describes kind of the general thesis of my book. I just refuse to believe that things could ever be that bad.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe it. Right. Why do they refuse to believe? Because things are good for them.
Yep.
Right. They're concerned with day-to-day life, right? And their own day-to-day life is pretty good. And they can't step outside themselves and think, wow, for everybody else, it's really bad out there. I should maybe care about this. They don't care.
Yeah.
Right. They don't care at all. It's right. Their life is
but
good.
also like with material goods, you can put a veil behind in front of decline. I mean, you could have complete cultural decay, but as long as you can go to the grocery store and get as much food as you want, and you can go home and you can just put your feet up.
You can get a 70-inch ultra high definition TV in America in a
Yeah.
Walmart today
Yeah.
for like under $1,000.
Yeah. As long as you can do
Right.
that, man. Like people,
That's pretty good, right? Standard. I mean, you could get Hulu on there. You can get Netflix. You can order Uber Eats.
yeah.
Right? Life's pretty good, man. And you can put it all on credit, and you never have to think about it. Right? Life's good.
Yeah.
Until it's not.
So it's not.
And you're right. Like liberalism inoculates you because it gives you these like little creature comforts, but like overall, everything's degraded. Right. Your neighborhood is turning into a slum.
And it's not a coincidence that like left-wing cultural revolution has taken place within the umbrella of like untold prosperity. They go hand in hand, and you can shut off the would-be opposition of conservatives just by having the prosperity there.
Yeah. The seeming prosperity.
The seeming
right. Like the
temporary,
veneer of it. Yeah.
prosperity. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the process that we've undergone for decades. But now like the bill is coming due because
Yeah.
the average.
That's why my tweet about the stock market and the housing market,
Yeah.
like is totally right.
Yes,
Like, you're not going to fix these things as long as the stock market goes up forever.
no, you're not. And like you have a generation now like of the Zoomer male where he does everything right. He goes to college. He does well and works hard in college, and he expects to get a decent job, and even like a decent entry level job, right? And he can't get that.
Yeah.
And he keeps working at Chipotle or whatever for a year or two, applying for job after job after job. You can't find anything.
Mhm.
Right? There's nothing there. It's all going to H-1Bs.
Yeah.
Right. Or it's going to people of a different diversity categorization than him.
Yeah.
And they're not getting good jobs, or if they do get it like halfway decent job, it's a dead end. There's no advancement up the ladder for them whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they're angry about this.
Yeah.
These circumstances. They can't make enough money to buy a house. If they can't make enough money to buy a house, how are they going to get married and have a family? Because houses are way too expensive. And why are houses expensive? Well, they want them to be expensive because, right, the generation 65 plus, their entire net worth is wrapped up in the value of their home.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, if I bought my home for $40,000 in 1981, now it's worth $3 million, and I just got a reverse mortgage and I can live off of that. Right. That like literally that's there are tons of people. That's their existence.
Yeah.
But if the asset price goes down, right, the real estate price, and then the asset price of the stock market goes down, now life ain't so good anymore. But it would be good for who? For the young people.
Yeah.
Right? Now they can afford homes. Right. Now there's going to be more jobs.
We should do an economics episode actually, because we don't talk about economics very much, but we should do that.
No. But what it is like it's caused this like generational fissure where the one generation that has lots of wealth and got it when America was booming, right now they've got all of it and they're desperately holding on to it as much as they can, and they'll vote for people and that'll pursue policies that are in their interests as a group against the younger people. I mean, but that's what COVID was. It's like, oh, this disease only kills old people, so we got to shut down the planet. And meanwhile, like kids in high school, sorry, you don't get to have a senior prom, you don't get to have a senior year of football, you don't get to have all the memories that make life the most worthwhile. Oh, you wanted to have a wedding? Sorry, you don't get to have one. You're just gonna have to go with a judge and wear masks, and maybe you can have a wedding ceremony in a couple of years, right? Like all the things in youth that are so wonderful and great, they said, no, you don't get to have any of that because I still want to be around for maybe an extra year, right? Like robbing from, it's like vampiric, right? Robbing from the young just to keep the old around for a little bit longer. I mean, that's the whole healthcare system too. Like 20% of the American economy is healthcare. It's like Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah.
Right. To keep boomers alive at the expense of who? Of like working class or middle class families that pay into the system. Right. Robbing from the young to pay for the old. Right. It's sick. It's evil that they've set up a system like this. Right. And we're talking about systemic things now. So very woke right. So anyway,
we better cut it there.
Yeah. On that note, anything you wish to promote today, CJ?
No, at Contra Mordor. Everyone knows me.
Yeah, go to @ContraMordor, like and subscribe to this if you haven't already.
We're still doing a poll to heaven
on YouTube. We're working very hard on that, and no, man, it's gonna be good. It's worth the wait.
Better be good.
It has to be good, or you're never gonna have a million YouTube subscribers, CJ. But
Man, this is tough.
yeah, I know. But get us to 1 million. We're a few 100,000 short. So like and subscribe. Click the little bell button so you know when we're going live. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Anything else? Well,
Wish Gary safe travels.
yeah, so he can be back. So I don't mess up. Is he still in here? I don't think
No,
he
he
is.
left.
Oh, he left. He's at the
Failed.
beach now. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to turn this off. I've forgotten. You know,
I can't believe Gary's at the beach,
I
man.
don't do this stuff anymore. I'm almost ready.
All right. Yep.
Oh,
let's
we
do
don't
it.
have the cool outro.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
Let's play an old cool one. Don't we have an old?
Yeah. Oops.
Oh, just do it. Just do it.
I'm trying to end the stream, but the Indian thing is killing me here. Okay. We need Gary, come back, please. All right, everyone, have a wonderful weekend. A wonderful Trump weekend, wonderful Trump arresting judges weekend. Stay peacefully dangerous, and we will see you next time.